Well, hi folks. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a nice time off, if you are indeed having time off. And the Christmas parties, have the invites started to happen yet? I'm quite proud to say I haven't had one invite from anybody. Oh yeah, baby. It just shows. Don't invite him for Christ's sake. They know they're wasting their time inviting me and her indoors out at all. Because neither me or my wife are gregarious enough to want to go and be surrounded by a bunch of pissheads who get emotionless towards the end of the night. New Year's Eve parties, just don't. I don't want to hear what New Year's resolutions people have. What a joke, you know. They sin 6 days a week and ask for forgiveness on the seventh. I'm not really interested, and that includes churchgoers. If that's their thing, fine. But I don't want to hear what people's resolutions are. I've been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and yada yada yada. And on the 2nd of January onwards, or the 3rd of January, we'll be back at work stabbing each other in the back, and we won't even continue with our resolutions. Why bother? It's just tradition, isn't it? It's just crap. Well, there's other more important issues, but I was accused the other day of being a racist. Can you believe that? Now, there is a huge difference between being interested in race and demographics and what's happening to our country, United Kingdom, and what's happening in the rest of the world. I do have an interest in what's happening to the rest of the world, because there's nothing like a bit of schadenfreude, is there, to cheer you up. Well, it could be worse. I could be living in South Africa at the moment. Now, if you were going to live in South Africa as a white person, dodgy times, I tell you. There's trouble ahead. And the irony, of course, if you don't know, I'll tell you that white people the white farmers have been kicked off their farms and being taken over by black people who have taken the farms by force with the government's authority and best wishes. And white farmers and their families in South Africa are being wiped out, quicker than you can shake a stick at. Violently, the families are being murdered, the wives are being raped, children, young girls are being raped, and naturally the farmers are fleeing when they can, or having to fight for their very survival. And it looks like the black people in South Africa are looking to eject white people off the face of their land. Now, most black people say, yeah man, about time too, the whites in South Africa, the bastards, yada yada yada. But it does seem that it is going to be a worldwide crisis soon enough, because the people who are taking over the farms, the black people, the thugs, reclaiming their land back, of course, have no farming ability at all. They don't know how to turn a tractor on, never mind do anything else. How are they going to produce food for South Africa? And this is exactly what happened in Rhodesia, of course, when they got rid of the white farmers and took the land back. The Rhodesians starved, and it was a chaos, because it was a mission for everybody else to bail them out when they run out of food, because nobody could produce food in Rhodesia. Well, Zimbabwe. Same. So the same thing now, you would have thought they'd learned, is happening in South Africa. And this black South African government is, now the whites can't leave. Well, why? Why can't the whites leave? Because if you do, there's nobody. Well, what do you want the whites to do? They've just been, most of them, the farmers in South Africa, are living a life of terror, and they're not going to go and share their expertise with a bunch of black thugs who have just nicked their farm. Why should they? So I'm, all for the exodus of white people from South Africa, and let the black people have their land. And you would have thought that they could, but they don't seem to learn. And this was the conversation I was getting involved with this couple of people I was talking to who accused me of being a racist. But there is logic behind my argument about this, and I'll explain why. If you look at what happened to Russia at the time of Stalin, and even before Stalin actually, whereby under the communists they decided that everybody being equal, of course, there can't be rich people at all. Everybody has to have the same amount, but some have more than others. You know how it is. But the farmers were considered the wealthy people in Russia at the time of the revolution. And Stalin and others decided to kick all the farmers off the land and replace them with, share the workload, and that the farmers were turfed off, replaced by other Russians who had no idea how to plant crops. Anyway, the same thing happened in Russia, where basically something like 26 million people starved to death because there was simply no food in Russia, because the farms had been wrecked and mismanaged and nobody knew how to farm because the farmers had been disposed of. What a surprise. This seems to be a bit of a eugenics program as far as I'm concerned. So I was having this discussion. It's a bad idea that you really don't want to kill the cash cow. You don't want to kill the goose that lays the golden egg, and that's farmers who know their skill sets to provide the food. These are one group of people that a country is very dependent on. That was the point I was making. But they don't seem to learn in Africa. And I was quoting the IQ tests about a proof that, black people, i.e. black people, when I say black people, you have to be careful. There are Negroes, there are the Asians, Chinese and Taiwanese are slanty eyes, these lot. And there are white Caucasian people of all nationalities, but as a breed, if you like, there are Caucasian white people who have white skin, Chinese people are not so much yellow skin, but you get where I'm coming from. And then you have Negroes or Africans. Okay, well, there's been worldwide study of IQ tests where they have checked the IQ of race, and very scientifically they've done it twice now on big scale, and they did it twice just to make sure they didn't make a mistake the first time, because the losers in the IQ test, i.e. those that came out the worst in the IQ tests, were the Negroes. Of all countries, Negroes taken from all countries, not just South Africa, by the way, but Negroes in America, all the other countries, not just, and Britain and all the European countries, all the Negroes were tested, but they were all obviously, it was a multinational test. But one of the key markers on each exam paper was, what ethnicity are you? Are you Negro? Are you Asian? Are you Chinese? Japanese? Whatever. Or are you a white Caucasian? Well, the upshot of the whole test, and it was done internationally, this test, for the first time demonstrated quite clearly that, scientifically done as well, that Negroes were the worst performers throughout the world in IQ tests. In fact, there was 79% of them. Okay, the average score was quite a chunk lower. The best performers in IQ tests are Chinese, Japanese, and the Asians. They're much, much better at mathematical reasoning and logic, but mathematics is their forte. Then came the whites, close behind, but way down the scale were Negroes. And that jury is out. It is concluded that Negroes, black people, and there are exceptions to the rule, I grant you, but as a statistic, black people come out worse. And it's ever likely, therefore, that, you know, if you want to give me a list of inventions throughout the world, and I know I've done a video about this before, but I am not going to let this point drop. If you look at the number of inventions and compare useful inventions for mankind in all areas of society, who have been dominant in inventions that have benefited the rest of the world? I grant you, white people have invented some horrific things, but for the most part, most of what's good in this world has been invented by white people. Am I a racist? I'm a racialist. I look at races. Okay, not into religions. There's nothing to do with religion. This is a genetic makeup of Caucasians. Now, I'm not saying that Chinese people are thick. They invented porcelain and developed that. China, didn't they? Find China. Well, look at that. Well, that's benefited. And they did gunpowder. Okay. And that's pretty big. And silk. 3 big things from our Asian friends. Fine. Don't even mention Chinese takeaways. But then you have to look at what black people have invented. And I struggle to think of, well, there's a great musician who's black, a guy called Scott Joplin, ragtime music, because I play Scott Joplin piano. And I think his music ability was phenomenal. I love Scott Joplin's music, and he was a Negro. And I play it, quite like it. You know, the Maple Leaf Rag, The Entertainer, that song, The Entertainer, that was Scott Joplin's music. And he was a black musician, fantastic pianist. You know, so they do have their superstars, but they are few and far between. One thing black people do excel at is athletics. There's no two ways about it. They can run faster than most. Begs the question why they had to develop that one, doesn't it? They have, in America, the highest crime rates. They murder each other. Black people kill each other more. Black on black killing in America is by far greater than white on blacks or blacks on whites. It's the blacks kill each other more than any other race on the planet, notwithstanding the communists when they're under the instruction of the Maoists or Stalin. And don't even mention Pol Pot and what went on in that area of the woods, who slaughtered millions of his own kind, the slanty-eyed little bastard. But let's look at what the white people have invented for society. Well, how long have you got? I could go on for hours about white people's inventions, men and women. You know, jet engine. We're talking inventions that have benefited the world, not just Caucasian people. And it is we are the givers. Caucasian people are the givers. We are the inventors and we are the givers. And if we were to leave this planet, flat one that it is, by the way, it begs the question of how the rest would survive. If you just had Chinese, you know, slanty-eyed type people and Arabic people. Well, Arabs gave us the 0, didn't they, in mathematics? That's a big claim to fame. I think we would have got it in the end anyway. It was a close call. Okay. But what have the blacks done for blacks and others lately? Apart from complain a lot and consume and breed, because they outbreed. God, can they breed? Begs the question where they get the energy. You know, there's so much poverty. Where do they get the energy? If they can't eat and they got nowhere to live, they're still breeding, like there's flies. Like they're flies, aren't they? Oh, Am I being racist? No, it's a straight fact. Have they got nothing better to do? Well, evidently not. They've got massive high crime rates. Despite the aid, foreign aid that is given to them, as mass government corruption, they wouldn't know how to be straight if their life depended on it, including the politicians. It's a standing joke. So, yeah, what white people? Okay, where do I start? Medicine, science, mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, engineering. Hello, white people. If it weren't for white people on this earth, it would be a whole different story. And it would be a turn for the worst. And we are the essential ingredient for what I would call a civilized society. I know we create our wars, but there's about 35, 36 wars currently going on this world that you and I are not aware of. And they're constant. And I can guarantee it'll be black on black killing. It all started with them killing each other off in the tribes. So I got accused of being a racist simply because I quoted, and nothing else, the latest statistics of IQ and the results of the IQ test. And it demonstrates that white Caucasians, although we came second, it's only generally recent in history that the Asians have started to pull their weight and start concentrating and contributing more. In the Victorian times, the British Empire, if you like, it was the whites who were improving everywhere. Yeah, we're warmongering bastards, I give you that. But ultimately, look what we've got. Take a look at what they could have had. Because if black people ruled this world, we'd all be in trouble. And that's how it would be. Can you imagine if whites were a minority? Well, here's the bad news. Caucasians in this world are becoming an endangered and will become an endangered species. And looking at the rates that we are breeding, we're simply not breeding enough because we are being outbred by our ethnic brethren. There we are. The black people are outbreeding us and the Asians are outbreeding us. And why? It's almost like we will be extinct if we don't get our act together and start procreating. But unfortunately, our intelligence says to us, I can't have any more children because I can't afford it. We have different moral sets and moral groups. We're not going to, generally speaking, white people are more responsible and are held personally accountable for their actions more than any other race on this world. And that is very true. We should know better. Well, why then do I get castigated to the bowels of hell for doing something when somebody who's got black skin is treated with kid gloves because he's black or she's black? Well, they didn't know any better. That's no excuse. They didn't know any better, is it? No, they're getting a fair crack. But if you look at the court systems in America, generally speaking, the murders and the big busts and the big violence, O.J. Simpson's a class example. Treated very leniently, quite frankly. And the courts are full of black criminals. The prisons are predominantly full of black, violent people who are immoral most of the time. Wouldn't know immoral if it hit them in the face. But I kept those opinions to myself during my little chat with these two other people because I just wanted to talk about the inventors of the world. And I highlighted the point about IQ and white people, may not have the highest IQ scores, but we're certainly not morons. We're certainly not morons, are we? No, but look at what we've done. But if white people hadn't been around historically, where would we get jet engines? Fossil, petrol. No, they said fossil fuel. That was a faux pas. Not petrol, diesel, railways, steam engines, all the great things that make life so much easier. The internet. Oh, dare I say, a white invention. The internet. A British invention, I might add. And am I being racist for highlighting this? Absolutely not. I'm being racialist. I'm comparing what Caucasians have done to society. We've done bad things and good things, but predominantly, looking at the preponderance of evidence, the world is a better place because of white people. And it would be a hell of a lot more decent place if we didn't have to have... Why can't we, for example, the black people want South Africa for themselves, let them have it. I'm absolutely all for it. And I live in Britain. Let the black Negroes have their South Africa. And let them have the Zimbabwe, let them have the whole of that lot. But stay out of mind. Why can't white people have a country that no blacks are allowed? Oh, you can't have that. That's racist. Well, it's racist the blacks wanting South Africa for themselves. That's racist, but nobody wants to talk about that nigger in the wood pile, do they? No. You see, it's all right to have a go at white people. We're just easy targets. We're racist bastards. But you dare mention to a black person that they're racist. How can they? Well, black people can be very racist. Very racist. In fact, they murder each other with regularity because he's in a different tribe. They're tribalist as well. They're very tribal. But I just think it's very unfair that there must be land, a portion of land, apportioned on this world, the flat plane. Why can't there be a country, maybe the size of Australia, okay, that obviously has its native aborigines set aside, and you can put a border and say that's yours, and the rest of Australia is for white people. That's it. And if I was offended by having to mix with other types, people would be right and justified by saying, why don't you piss off to go and live in Australia then, if that's how you feel about other people? Well, I generally don't have feelings about, I don't have a problem mixing with black people and Asian people, and generally don't. But I don't like the fact is that historically, Britain, in the Victorian times, it was rare indeed to see a black man. But now we're treading on eggshells in this bloody country now, lest we offend any coloured skin apart from white. We can offend the whites, we don't matter. But you offend a Muslim or a Negro, you're racist. You're being racist. Now, this racism thing, it's just absolutely man-made crap. It's a control freak thing. It's a license to bully white people into submission and compliance of homogenizing and bastardizing our society. And ultimately, it's going to be the death of Caucasians on this planet if we don't get a grip and wake up and smell the coffee. White man's importation, I might add. Let's not forget the Red Indians, neither red nor Indian, but native Indians, Native Americans. You see, they were kicked off the land in America, weren't they? And they have their reservations now. Well, why can't there be white reservations? I'd certainly move. Quite frankly, if I had an opportunity and I was younger, I would go and live in a country that was absolutely 100% white. There'd be no argument then, would there? Think of the inventions you could get away with doing there. But we'd be classed, you see, as being self-interested then, because the non-white countries would turn around and say, yeah, well, we want that technology. Well, no, you can't have it. It's a white thing, you know. Go and invent your own. Instead of finding ways of producing more children and inventing reasons why you can't go to work and you're claiming God knows what of society and you're just basically bloody lazy, don't think, just because don't think you're going to come to the white zone and start scrounging off us. We've been there, done it, we've got the t-shirt, and look what happened. We had enough of your crap and we're turning our backs and we're starting up a white colony, and it can be a white country. You tell me why we can't have a white country. China have got one. Fundamentally, they're all Chinese. Yeah. With maybe a couple of pepperings of foreign, but they've all got the slanty eyes. Japanese are the same. You stand out a mile in the UK, don't they, because of this? And their skin colour. You go as a white Caucasian to go and live in China, you'll be spotted a mile off. You'll be looked at under all sorts of suspicion. Well, I'm sick of it. Even when you go on holiday, you come across black people are very racist to white people in some countries I've been to. We're looked at with distrust and, they look at us as we're bastards. And if I had my time again, and if it was available, I would go and live in white world. I really think that that's got to be a way. Nature does not pollute. I think it's very unfair to have half-caste children because the child lacks identity. It's torn between being black and white, and even though they are 50-50 by nature, they are still classified as black children by people who may or may not be racist. Because you're not going to say, which one's Tabitha? Oh, it's the little black girl. Well, you can say it's the little half-caste girl. Why do you have to isolate the child for identification by its skin colour? Well, it's the quickest method because we're visual. Which one is it? It's, you see those children over there? Yeah. Now, what if they're, if you have 3 black children in the corner, but one of them is half-caste, i.e. has a white parent of some kind, one of the 50% of the parents are white, how would you say, it's the black girl in the middle. Why would you have to refer to the colours? It's the child in the middle. Or, you don't have to keep referring to the child's skin. Or the adults even. You could say it's the person in the white pyjamas. You see, if you did have Tabitha in the middle who was a black girl, or a half-caste black girl, with 2 white girls, it would be oh so easy to say it's the black girl in the middle. But people being people will identify people by their skin colour very quickly, initially, unless they get corrected for it. And then it becomes a political hot potato, doesn't it? Then you get labelled a racist. You could have identified that child by saying she had a yellow pullover on. Instead of saying it's the little half-caste girl in the middle, you could have said it's the girl with... Yes, I could have done a lot of things. But it's a subconscious thing. And I don't care who, even you get white people who are holier than thou and claim never to be racist. Oh God, how awful to be a racist. You're a racist bastard, you are. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, listen, tell me then, Jenny. How old's your daughter? 19. Nice, beautiful young white girl there, blonde hair. Very nice. You must... Oh, you're so proud of her. She's got a 1-2-1 in Cambridge, and all this shit. Well, do you know what? She's going to marry Rastus Odinga Biscuit Barrel over there, and he's from the deepest part in Africa, but he's a lovely guy. I hope you like your grandchildren. Oh, she won't be marrying him, my old son. Now who's being racist? You see, it's all right not to be racist for others, for people to be judgmental until it hits them personally. As for me, I have white children. Of course I do. My wife is white. I would be disappointed, and that's an understatement, if my son or daughter had a black girlfriend. I still love my son or daughter, but I would be disappointed. And my children know that. Because there is no white people, truth be told, that are excited at the prospect of their offspring marrying non-white people. Not, they might, and there are a lot of, white fathers having to bite their lip and say, please don't marry him because the grandchildren will be half-caste. Yeah, well, Dad, I love him. Or, yeah, Mum, I love her. And now you're getting to the realms of, well, love. There's nothing quite like it, is there really? But you cannot contain the disappointment. And, it's a social subject, are probably not best not talked about. But let us talk and let us consider this. I would argue till black as blue about this, and I don't care who people are. If you're white and you have children, you would secretly not want your children, in preference, to breed with non-white men or women, because you know that your gene pool will be polluted forever. And this is, take a look at the British royal establishment for that argument. With the ginger who just married a 50-50 black-white girl. Nice girl, I'm sure she's lovely. But there's a good 50% chance of her dropping a sprog that is going to be dark-skinned, very dark-skinned, if you look at the genetics. Yeah. That woman, that girl, Merkel, or whatever her name is, Merkel, I think her name's Merkel, not the German Prime Minister that was, but, the ginger's bit. Can't recall her name, it was like that interesting to me. But yes, the ginger who's married the half-caste. Okay. Well, look at his mother-in-law. Black as the ace of spades, sat in that church or that cathedral, wasn't she? Oh yeah, baby. And the Queen just didn't like it, did she? When the ginger could have had his pick of pretty much any woman on the planet, and I know that's true, and he had to go for a 50-50. Well, that's just being him, being multicultural and progressive, if that's what you call it, but he's absolutely polluted the gene pool, hasn't he not? There we are. They're all a bunch of bastards anyway. So I really don't care. But as for me being racist, no, I'm a racialist. But there's nothing I can do. I can only have my own views, and I don't impose them on anyone else, unless I'm invited to pose an opinion. And really, I am entitled to my opinion, as you are, and they are of theirs and yours. But at the end of the day, I simply cannot deny that deep down, truth be known, black people generally don't like white people, and white people generally don't like black people. You see? And that's the truth of it. And you can, it is really that black and white, excuse the pun. And sometimes you get castigated to the bowels of hell for speaking the truth and saying what's on your mind on the internet. But I do have friends who are black. That's my cop-out. I am not racist. I simply observe, and I know what I know, and I know what would upset me. And I personally don't care to be called, I don't care if a black person calls me a white honky. I really don't. Any reference to my skin colour is academic to me, yet black people are so sensitive. You call me black, man. Yeah, you are black. And I'm white. There is a difference. Let's just get on with it. Okay, let's just live with it. And you know, this is what's wrong with society. You cannot equalize everybody. It's like transhumanism. It's a joke. We're born male or female, and some are born with both parts. But to say I'm transgender, I think it's a bastardization. It's absolutely political correctness gone wrong. It's a boy, it's a girl. That's it. And if you are, have you got a willy and, you know, testicles? You are a boy, I'm afraid, and you are not going to be called whatever you like. You are a boy, and you will use the boys' toilets, and you'll grow up. Okay, and when you're an adult, don't expect the world to revolve around you just because you think like a girly, because you're nothing new. But only in the last 20 years have we got stuck in this nonsense of having to keep politically correct Ms. Transgender. This word transgender, I mean, it's bad enough accepting, transgender gays. It just makes me sick now that the way we have to be politically correct by addressing such people. And I think it's over the top political correctness. If you're gay, good for you. But you shouldn't have special rights just because you're gay. And try and have some decency and not flaunt it and shove it in everybody's face. Because quite frankly, because I'm not gay, having to deal with upfront, in-your-face girls thinking it's such a great thing to be gay, or boys snogging. I find two males snogging in front of me quite repellent, and it's something I really don't want to think about. It disgusts me. Now, it disgusts me because I'm not gay, okay? But if they want to do it, they should go and do it, and not shove it into people's faces like, we're gay and we're showing we don't care. Well, I don't care either, but don't, I like normal me. And there's nothing wrong with being normal, yet normal people now are viewed as abnormal because we're normal. And that's the way society's going. We're just going to be one big bloody melting pot, and it is going to lead to disaster, as it seems to be going. Thank God I'm checking out sooner or later. And I don't really want to come back again. I'd rather rub it all out and start again, wouldn't you? Catch you tomorrow. Toodle pip.